One day, in a serene garden beside a gentle river, a young writer was strolling, seeking inspiration for his new novel. By chance, he encountered an old monk meditating under an ancient Bodhi tree. As he was contemplating the great issues of humanity, he decided to approach the monk, hoping that he could help answer some of his questions. The writer gently greeted and asked, "Dear Master, in your opinion, what is the greatest problem that our world is facing today? Is it economic recession, global warming, or the wars raging everywhere?" The monk opened his eyes, smiled calmly, and said slowly, "Before I answer your question, let me ask you something. Who are you?" The writer, a bit puzzled, replied, "I am a writer." The monk continued, "No, that is your profession. I am asking you, who are you really?" The writer thought for a moment and said, "I am someone who writes." The monk asked again, "No, that is what you do. Who are you really?" The writer began to feel confused and hesitantly answered, "I am a human being." The monk persisted, "No, that is your species. Who are you really?" The conversation continued with the same questions, repeating until the writer had to stop and reflect deeply. Finally, he admitted, "It seems I do not know who I am." The monk gently nodded and said, "This is the greatest problem of humanity. If even you cannot answer this question, how can you understand the world around you? The answer to this question is the key to solving all other problems. Sit down here, and I will help you understand the concept of no self, the most fundamental teaching of Buddhism." The monk began to explain, "In Buddhism, the concept of no self is not about the annihilation of the self, but the understanding that the self is merely a collection of many interdependent elements, nothing permanent or fixed. When you realize that the self does not exist independently, you will see the deep interconnectedness of everything in the universe." The writer listened to every word of the monk, each sentence opening a new horizon in his mind. He realized that the great issues of humanity, whether economic recession, global warming, or wars, all stem from attachment to the self, from greed, hatred, and ignorance. If everyone could understand and practice no self, the world would become more peaceful and harmonious. The conversation ended as the sun began to set. The writer bowed to the monk and thanked him for enlightening his mind. He left the garden, carrying with him a sense of peace and a deeper understanding of himself and the world around him. Underscore 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 underscore. Through this story, we see that the greatest problem of humanity does not lie in external events but within, from the lack of understanding of oneself. Only when each person understands their true nature can we address the great challenges of the world. In Buddhism, the concept of emptiness is one of the most important and profound doctrines, yet it is also one of the most difficult to comprehend, even for those who have studied Buddhism for a long time. What is emptiness in Buddhism? Although this concept has appeared in many ancient and modern Buddhist texts and has been researched and explained by many renowned authors like D.T. Suzuki, emptiness remains a doctrine that is easily misunderstood. People often think that emptiness means nothingness, void, or annihilation, but in Buddhism, emptiness is not about destruction but a dynamic state of existence, coexisting with the endless rhythm of all things. To understand this better, let's consider a simple example. One serene afternoon, a philosophy professor named Sarah was sitting in her garden, pondering the nature of existence for her upcoming lecture. Her mind was clouded with complex thoughts about the interconnectedness of life and the concept of emptiness in Buddhism. As she sipped her tea, she noticed a butterfly gently landing on a flower nearby. This small event sparked a moment of clarity, and she decided to share a simple yet profound story with her students to help them understand the essence of emptiness. During her lecture, Sarah began, "Let me share a story to illustrate the concept of emptiness in Buddhism. Imagine a beautifully woven tapestry hanging in an art gallery. This tapestry is admired for its intricate patterns, vibrant colors, and the stories it seems to tell. Visitors come from all over to marvel at its beauty, each interpreting it in their unique way. However, if we look closer, we realize that this tapestry is not a standalone masterpiece. It is composed of countless threads, each thread intertwined with others, creating the complex design. The existence of this tapestry depends on the weaver's skill, the quality of the threads, the dyes used for coloring, and even the loom that held it during creation. Without these elements, the tapestry would not exist. Now, let's extend this metaphor to our understanding of emptiness. People often think that emptiness means nothingness, void, or annihilation. But in Buddhism, emptiness is not about destruction, it is about recognizing the dynamic state of existence, coexisting with the endless rhythm of all things. To understand this better, let's consider a simple example: the cup of tea you might be holding right now. This cup includes the tea leaves, the hot water, the ceramic material, and the craftsmanship of the potter. But in reality, this cup could not exist without the rain that nourished the tea plant, the sunlight that helped it grow, the minerals that formed the clay, and the energy and skills of the potter. This cup also could not serve its purpose if you did not have hands to hold it and a mouth to drink from it. So, what is this cup of tea really? It is merely a phenomenon that appears in your experience at this moment. But in fact, for this cup of tea to be in your hands, the entire universe had to come together. The existence of elements like the soil, water, sunlight, human effort, and countless other factors over time has contributed to creating the tea you are drinking. This illustrates the marvel of emptiness in Buddhism. In Buddhism, nothing exists independently, everything is interconnected and dependent on each other. When we understand this, we realize that the world around us is not composed of isolated objects, but of interwoven chains of connections. This is what Buddhism refers to as emptiness. It's not about a void but about seeing the profound interdependence of all things. Sarah concluded her lecture with a gentle smile, observing the thoughtful expressions on her students' faces. She knew that through this simple story, they had glimpsed the deeper truth of interconnectedness and the essence of emptiness. The garden, the butterfly, the tapestry, and the cup of tea had all served their purpose in conveying a timeless wisdom that transcends the complexities of philosophical discourse. The five aggregates, the foundation of understanding human beings and the universe. To understand emptiness more clearly, we need to look into the five aggregates. What are the five aggregates? They are the five elements that constitute human beings and the world, including form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Form, Rupa form represents the physical body of humans. It includes elements like earth, water, wind, and fire that come together to create the physical body we see every day. Feeling, Vedana feeling represents the sensations and emotions of humans. All our sensations, whether joy, sorrow, or neutrality, neither joy nor sorrow, belong to this aggregate. Perception, Sana perception is the aggregate of cognition, thoughts, and the mental images we have. It governs most of our mental life. Mental formations, Sankhara mental formations represent our reactions and actions. Emotions like love, hatred, anger, or regret stem from this aggregate. Consciousness, Vijnana consciousness is the ability to recognize and differentiate through our six senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. When we understand the five aggregates, we realize that no single element is truly me. Each element is just a part of a larger chain of events, an infinite network of causal relationships, with no fixed self within them. No self, the true nature of human beings, understanding emptiness, leads to the recognition of no self. In the Sutra of the Eight Realizations of Great Beings, the Buddha taught that the five aggregates are non-self, meaning the body and mind composed of these aggregates do not have a real self. This may seem hard to grasp, as we clearly feel that we have a self, that we are conscious beings with thoughts and emotions, but when we examine each aggregate closely, we see that none of them is truly me. This body, even though we perceive it as ours, is actually a combination of physical elements that will dissolve when these elements no longer exist. Our emotions change constantly, beyond our control. Our thoughts also shift continuously without a fixed point. All of this demonstrates that there is no real self in any of the aggregates. No self in real life, understanding the theory of no self can bring significant benefits to our daily lives. When we realize that the self we always protect and cling to does not truly exist, we can live more peacefully, free from the illusions of self. We will understand that all suffering in life comes from our attachment to this illusory self. The Buddha, the guide to liberation, the Buddha, with his superlative wisdom, comprehended all things in the universe and showed humanity that the body and mind are merely a conglomerate of conditioned elements, subject to the law of impermanence, with nothing being real or truly self in them. Understanding this, we can live in accordance with reality. No longer being misled by the illusion of self, enlightenment, the path to realization. A story tells that in a Zen monastery, a monk from a distant place came to join the community for study and practice. This monk had previously studied Buddhist teachings deeply and was confident in his understanding of the teachings on emptiness and no self. He felt that he had mastered the essence of Zen and often talked about emptiness with everyone. When the abbot heard about the monk's confidence, he called him and asked, "I heard you are very knowledgeable about prajna and emptiness. Please explain them to me." The monk was about to respond when the abbot suddenly slapped him in the face. The monk, puzzled, turned around to ask but was slapped again. Furious, he said, "I haven't said anything, why did you hit me?" The abbot calmly replied, "In emptiness, there is no one who hits, no one who is hit, and no hitting action. So who feels the pain?" At that moment, the monk realized that he had been speaking about emptiness like a parrot, without truly understanding its essence. The abbot then recited a verse, "Though one may recite little of the scriptures, but practice according to the Dharma, abandoning greed, hatred, and ignorance, with a liberated mind, not clinging, they are truly participating in the Dharma, no self." Applying to modern life, in daily life, the concept of no self can help us manage our emotions better. Once, I received annoying advertising calls every day. Usually, I did not pick up, but there was a persistent group that called every day. Whenever I heard the phone ring, I practiced mindfulness, treating it as a wake-up bell, standing still, smiling, taking 3 breaths, and listening to their message. One day, I lost patience and picked up the phone intending to ask them not to call anymore. When I spoke into the phone, I realized the other end was an automated message with no person speaking. At that moment, my anger vanished as I recognized there was no one on the other end, no self. Seeing the world through the lens of no self. In life, we often get angry with others, but not with inanimate objects. When we realize the object is no self, meaning it is not a person, our anger dissipates, leaving no room to exist. This experience taught me to remain calm when hearing advertising calls on the phone, knowing that even though there are words, there is no person, no self. Another example is when we see a drifting boat colliding with ours. Initially, we might get angry and blame the boat's operator. But when we realize the boat is unmanned, drifting freely, our anger dissipates as there is no one to blame. Emptiness, applied in modern science. The concept of emptiness is also applied in modern science, such as the butterfly effect. A small change in one part of a system can lead to significant changes in another part. Demonstrating the inseparable connection of all things, scientific discoveries are similar to the evolution of Buddhist thought. For example, Newton's theory of space and time existed for a long time, but when Einstein introduced the theory of relativity, the entire foundation collapsed. This shows that nothing is absolute, everything exists relatively and changes over time. Conclusion: through this journey of exploration into the profound concepts of emptiness and no self in Buddhism, we uncover the essence of interconnectedness that binds the universe together. These teachings, though ancient, hold timeless wisdom that addresses the root of human suffering. By recognizing that our perceived self is an illusion, composed of fleeting and interdependent elements, we can liberate ourselves from the chains of attachment, greed, and ignorance that cloud our minds. Understanding emptiness is not about embracing void or nothingness, but about seeing the vibrant interdependence of all phenomena. It reveals the dynamic flow of life, where every experience, every being, is a part of a grand, interconnected tapestry. This realization brings a profound sense of peace and unity, as we see ourselves as integral threads within the fabric of existence. In embracing no-self, we shed the false ego that drives us to conflict and suffering. We begin to see beyond individualistic boundaries, fostering compassion, empathy, and genuine connection with others. This transformative insight leads to a more harmonious existence, both within ourselves and with the world around us. The teachings of the Buddha guide us to this deeper understanding, inviting us to transcend superficial distinctions and perceive the true nature of reality. By internalizing these principles, we can cultivate a life of mindfulness, where we respond to the world's challenges with wisdom and compassion, rather than reactivity and division. As you continue your journey, may these insights illuminate your path, helping you to navigate life's complexities with a serene and awakened mind. The wisdom of emptiness and no-self offers not just philosophical contemplation but practical guidance for a fulfilling and enlightened life. Thank you for joining me on this exploration, and I look forward to delving deeper into these profound teachings with you in future discussions.